it into.
I don't think we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I have to unplug the camera.
It's okay, it's okay, I got, it's getting, I'll get a little juice and then I'll plug it in.
Okay.
Wait,
Oh, man.
put something in for,
That should help. Okay. This is, the FY 2024 conference committee on the budget adjustment, and, I'd like to start, I had, we can hopefully, our goal is to finish this up, obviously. And I thought, according to what I crossed out, that we closed out 38. We've agreed with the
Yeah.
syringe, but
Yes.
that was closed. and,
Yep.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
shows it open.
I still say,
I
I've got
think
new
that's
language, Katie, but I don't know if we.
I'm just gonna say, I think it's because we didn't have the official language and I think Grady's got the official
Yeah,
language.
and
That's
which is on the front, and which I did keep open, but we did
Yeah.
close out the.
Yes.
Right.
So, maybe we could look at that and get that one out then.
Brady's busy printing.
I was gonna say, we're just gonna, it's really, it's not here.
Okay. Oh, then I think we're on a hold, aren't we?
Well, there are a few of the number pieces,
Okay.
these pieces. I don't
On the
know,
numbers,
yeah, at the top.
At the very, very top, I can make, I attempt to make progress here, Madam Chair.
I thought we decided that was a 25 issue because of the base in.
The LUPA,
Yeah.
heard back from our committee on, healthcare that this is a 25 issue. We, are going to cross that off for now. For not,
And
for
make
now,
it-
for good, yeah,
I thought,
FY 25.
yeah, okay.
But there's a part of it is the emergency relief, but the LUPA part we can do.
So 1 and 2, we can close out.
Yeah, but the emergency relief on there is a part of that, right?
No.
No,
that's
no,
different.
4 is different.
No,
No,
I think part of it just, the Luca thing is about also changing, they operate the
January to January.
January to January, it was a 6-month thing, and then next year was supposed to be, bring it back onto the state fiscal year, so part of this was trying to deal with that 6 months, but
Right.
not able
But
to
it's
do
a
that.
base increase, and I
Yeah.
don't know what the 25 budget, you've been looking at it, whether the funding was there or
It's
not.
very sad looking, but but it would be, if we move forward with it, it would have to be like 18 months just to get this on its
Right.
appropriate cycle. And that's a big ask.
So, so number 2 was the LUFA, which, what we're talking about, and which, I guess at this point, we're in agreement that that's something that has to be, accompanied with the. You, yeah, it seems like you mentioned that. Good luck on the 25 budget. Looking forward to the fruits of your labor.
I don't know if there'd be fruits, I don't know. if
But there will
fruits
be
gonna
labor.
There will be labor.
Okay, so 1 and 2 are now closed
Yeah.
out. Now, we needed the language because we wanted to make sure, just like we did with the,
Yes, St. John's very,
yeah, we
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that it was outlined which organization got what.
right, and we did that, right? I've
We
got
don't have this about the language
We don't
here.
have the language.
Brady's
so-
bringing that.
He's
as
making copies.
So that's the only reason that was open,
Yeah.
was pending, language.
Okay.
Okay. Number 4. We had felt that in light of more information that came to us after you had taken up the budget, that the 17 million to fund these emergency relief, applications, seemed to be the 17 was necessary. There was, another one that had applied and was still pending. And I don't know, we had some more discussion, and I guess another one came in today.
Yep.
This is on the emergency relief.
Right, yeah.
So the question is, you had 14 based on the information you had available
At the
at
time.
the time, which was a couple months ago.
Well, as of this morning, we were 14.9,
9, yeah,
and
actually last week.
as of 2:45 this afternoon, they got a request from Franklin County. We have an accessibility
Another 1.5.
So our total figures to this point are 17.3.
So,
You're not asking to go up the
no,
3.
no.
No, just, and I think, you know, for us, we don't have disagreement per se on this, and we can probably close this out. I just, you know, for us, as you know, Choices for Care is an all-inclusive program that includes home and community-based services as well as skilled nursing. And, while we have language proposed, language change proposed in 24, the reality is that that language is not going to impact 24, because 24 is pretty much any savings, right? So, what we are looking at, and I just want to be really clear about what the intent of that language change was. And
Are we back
is.
onto the obligated? issue
Yes, we
now?
are.
Oh,
Those are tied, they're tied
She
together.
They're
said
tied
segue.
together, yeah. This is a segue so that we can close both of these out. Is that, I know that everybody understands that this is, you know, an all-inclusive program for everything from small respite grants all the way up to 24/7 and skilled nursing. The issue is around the calculation of savings in that, the recent experience is that essentially the department zeroes that out every year. And it essentially allocates or encumbers or, you know, whatever is the word that you want to use, those savings towards whether it's emergency financial relief, but it's mostly been going to our skilled nursing facilities. And the intent of those savings was to be invested in home and community-based services. And the intent was that the legislature would have some say in that. That's what the reporting requirements are all about. So we are okay with deferring that until 25. But we're gonna have this discussion all over again in
Well-
25.
And it's really complicated. I was involved in trying to get language that was done.
Yeah.
And it really is one time, because obviously we've been, if you look at the base budget, we've been increasing the appropriation to all of them at the same time.
Right.
So this used to be shifting the balance. And it was really developing your home and community-based alternative to nursing home care. And this is way back in the 90s, back when Con Hogan was secretary. That's how long ago. And I raised the question, maybe does that even have any relevance anymore? Because it's really one-time money. And then your base, of course, is whatever we've got appropriated to, you know, adult days to whatever. So,
Right. Well, we're happy to take a relook at that whole issue.
all right,
In context of 25.
all right, that's good. So then, based on what we know now, the 17, and then, however whatever structure that we can agree upon, around savings or replacement, will be, hammered out in the next couple of weeks. We're developing the 25 budget, because it isn't something that has the urgency or time sensitivity of the beginning. All right,
So that would be
so that
number
is, I don't know.
42,
42.
4 and 42.
Put this highlighter. Good use.
And 40 sugars.
Okay, so now. You want to just go right straight down?
Yeah, you have language though.
We have 6.1
I have 6.1 here, but is Grady, are you in the room?
No, he's copying.
So, for instance,
He's
I
still at the.
He's not back of the whole thing.
No.
No. Yeah.
It's in the handprint.
What's the hiring?
Oh,
The after
let me-
school.
The after school, I think
We need to have 6.1.
6.1.
And then we have the language on,
And here he comes.
Just.
you might be the man of the hour. And, you can either, what, you wanna sit here?
Sure.
And you get a breathe.
Yeah, you gotta breathe and try. You really.
I have to say, Madam Chair, as he's getting settled in, that I appreciate our new young colleague from the joint fiscal today. Twice, I think today, saved me from moving forward. He nudged me in a direction, was like, Madam Chair, I think, and provided.
You did it very tactfully.
Very tactfully and was absolutely correct. And, so when he nudges me, I listen. I may not agree, but I'll listen.
Well, in this case, you did.
All right,
These are two.
Is that the?
and then you have our,
Okay.
and then you have ours with.
Yes, so I just need a moment to take out the Senate proposals from this document.
All right, whatever you're doing.
All right, that is the 6.1 version. Nice copies there. I'm gonna put those right there. For after school. The Senate has gone back, this could.
We agree with you enough a year later.
Right. They took a little while.
But they got it.
You agree with us a year later.
I like
1 year, 3 hours.
So this is that, and I know that there's a section in here, the belt and
Let's
suspenders
see.
is C
Uh-huh.
around the discrimination language, and I know that we, I just want to make sure that that is different than, a little bit different, but the same.
That's the only difference.
See.
And we added the word annually, word D, it's got the agency may use up to 500,000. Before there was no word after that, and now it said may up to use up to 500,000 annually.
I want you to know, this was your language from last year, I believe. So-
It's something me,
That should look familiar.
yes, and it will be codified in the green books and, so thank you
Well,
and we're pleased that our language from last year was still so helpful and right on.
it was right, and, see, that really is, we've had some discussion that what we were doing was looking at the public accommodations, which brings in a whole bunch of other, kind of extraneous, as we said, 6-year-olds aren't getting married probably. At least not under the law. So, this, deals with the protected classes, which I know was concerned and makes it clearer, so, this is, I think.
And the reporting is, there's the same that, this is brand new, let it run, 1 or 2, and then we'll see how it goes. And,
So, let's not belabor this, or this thing. So I would say we prefer.
so that's a few items here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see where there's a bunch.
7 and 8. And then it also, 52 and 53 and 54.
Yep.
That's Grady, the question.
Yes, go ahead.
So Grady, there was no issue about referring to sales tax one place and sales and use tax.
No, actually, it's written correctly.
There's notwithstanding language.
Yeah.
That's sales and use over here.
This was clarified, and so the phrase, so based on, conversations, sales tax as they appeared.
This is
It's
followed
just,
from the
yeah.
statute.
Yes.
Yes, so, it notwithstands 16 BSA 40.5, which includes the, repeal of the sales tax.
So you don't have to use, just sales tax, according to this is perfectly fine, which is what
But they
was,
use it just a reference to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
we're very careful about this, 'cause
Yeah, no.
let's not,
52 and 53 and 54?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
man.
52, 53, and 54.
Yeah, we got rid of 51.
No,
Oh, too bad.
that one is special and near and dear to Representative Shaw's.
This is, do we require or do we request?
Well, I'd like to require it.
Yeah.
Frankly, we're finding it extraordinarily useful, in understanding what's left and.
In the spirit of closing this baby out, I will.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, you're welcome.
We will not remove the language.
51.
We'll keep the
house version. Thank you.
Even though you don't need to require it, you can request it, but.
Thank
I
you.
want you to know my feelings about required.
Yes.
There's a mandatory line in here that says that someone has to read it.
Yeah, we,
I'm hoping that some legislature in the future will be happy that they get such a document and wonder where it came from. That's right. Sense of things.
I'm glad you're finding.
Or
it
it'll come off the-
The shy report.
It's the Shire report, there you go, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think we'll name that.
Oh,
And they
right.
shall read it.
Yeah. And the shall.
Not may, but
Oh,
shall.
Do we have the language now for the syringe,
Yes, so, the document, I think that's.
or is that?
Includes that. Unfortunately, this document has both Senate and House proposals in it. Pages 1 through 7 include Senate proposals of amendment, or Senate proposals and one technical correction, and then pages 8 through 10 include
You're
House.
confusing me, Brady. What you're saying is it's all combined and mushed together,
Yes, so the first 7 pages are Senate,
7 pages?
and the last 3 pages are House.
You had a lot
Does
to
that
say.
include the grant?
Yes.
That's all there?
Yes,
Can I see what I'm offering? No, this is it. Oh, do you mean? Oh, my gosh.
What would you like to?
I haven't.
so the grant language begins on page 5
I have to find this line.
and ends on page 7.
Oh, no, we do have a printer. Sandy can print.
Send it to me.
Okay,
And then Grady, send it to Grady too, she's got the final.
you don't have GA, you don't have GA housing language?
No, I
No, I
don't.
didn't think so, okay.
All right, well, why don't we pass this out and get this done?
Okay, I'm anxious to see, what is it?
Well, first is, according to what I'm getting, page 1, is the language here. Is the language on the,
Oh, it's all together. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
adult basic ed, and it's moving it, we had $1 million, and we agreed, with the money to move it to 1.380, and then we wanted to identify the allocation of the.
Yeah.
So look at page 1.
You're gonna turn it over.
Look at page
Okay.
1.
You're looking at it backwards.
Turn it over, turn the whole thing over.
This is page 3. This is page 3.
You might have thought these 2 copies.
4.
Mr. Clinton?
Let me just get them in order. 4. 3.
They're all paginated.
I think she was
Fine.
pages 1 and
Maybe
2.
not.
There's something in the next
7.
Oh,
8.
Here's one.
9.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's page 1 right here.
I need a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Got 3.
It's on the back.
So I think,
That's missing page 1.
Yeah.
There's 1 and 2.
looking at one, you have page 1?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There should be 10 total?
Yep,
Yes,
and for adult basic ed is on the front.
Okay, so all this does is, do what we hope we had agreed upon, the amount was agreed upon. It's just making sure that we identify the allocation of the money, to the different, provider
Yes.
entities. Similar to what we did with, syringe.
Yep.
So, and that, what section's that, Brady, we just closed out?
section 40 of the bill.
17 is the line.
17, okay.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
You're
Okay.
agreeing?
17,
Yeah, I thought we did, we just hadn't seen it as writing.
that's right, we agree.
I think at this point, I need to say, it still leaves. Even if we take the report and we implement pieces of the report which deal with the GEDs or the high school graduate equivalent. Even if we do that, this still leaves going forward in 2025, $1 million hole
Yeah.
that we're going to have to deal with. And I think clearly this says this is a bridge that I think that adult basic ed community needs to be aware of that. And I will be very surprised if we can find $1 million to fill all of that. So this is This is giving them time to adjust to the new reality. And hopefully we can do something to help them. But I doubt very much we're gonna come up with $1 million. And it's no small chunk to be able to deal with the language in that report, which actually calls for more money coming from the ed.
But I would say that there seems to be a difference in opinions because former Representative Marty Feltus was at legislative breakfast yesterday. And she felt that they would be able to, that the recommendations implemented around the assessment and so forth, that they would not have a problem. So it could very well be that only selected,
Well,
provider.
I would think at your legislative breakfast in the Northeast Kingdom, I would just say that, the Northeast
I know,
Kingdom
I know.
adult learners was only down 40,000. And they had made some adjustment. But there are other agencies that haven't.
Well, I guess if they're listening, then they're on notice.
They'll actually be in the.
I just felt like we need to say out loud so everybody hears.
Um,
And I would note for the committee, that after provide and before bridge funding, I believe it's the intent of the Senate to, re-add the words deficit assistance and, those words don't appear in this copy, but, I believe that's the intent of the Senate to make sure
all right,
deficit assistance is included in this language.
yes, that's exactly what we're.
Where does it go, Grace?
After provide and before bridge funding, which should include the words deficit assistance and.
Okay.
Deficit assistance and bridge funding. Okay, you make that change, everybody's in agreement?
Yeah.
So page 2 is, did we agree to that already?
So this is the language, and I believe the
Oh,
committee
yes.
agreed to the dollar amount, but did not see a copy of the language yet.
Well,
Which had the allocation to each
But
of
I
the
swear
funds.
I got it before,
I thought
we've done it, but we like it.
I had a reading for the language.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I think we had an email about it, but we didn't have the official language.
She has, but maybe
So we
it's
just,
on the draft. So now we're on page 3.
Pages 3 and 4, so this is a technical adjustment on page 4. The only change is for the last few lines on page 4. This addresses concern from the administration's technical letter. The original language read general fund for natural disaster relief. The administration was concerned that they would not be able to take action on that legislative intent. So this clarifies that if it's the intent of the General Assembly that will not equal to the receipts from the Vermont Strong, be used for natural disaster relief.
Right, so that was in the technical letter. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right, moving on to page 5. Now we're getting into, oh my goodness, I think we have the joint fiscal.
Yeah.
sorry. Explaining
A
that.
day off, but what, we have done here that we are modifying is the distribution of the 12.5 to the communities in a way that reflects, as I said, the difference of impact that they experienced from the flooding. And right here, Montpelier had more public assistance damage. On the other hand, Barry had a lot more on the residential side. And Ludlow, of course, had a lot of damage, a tremendous amount of damage with the wastewater plant and the flooding and loss of the store, et cetera. So we're trying to accommodate the difference in the economic impact and how to move the money out so that it would be equitable the best we could in a rather imprecise world. And you've seen that there are 2 pieces, one of which is a grant that would go out. And then the other would be looking at what would be their match requirements for ERAF based on the information we have today. And so that it would be in the, it would be to help buy down the match. So if it's 80-20, that 20 is split 10%, state, 10%. Municipal, and so we would actually still have that language to advance the 70% on the ERAF side. They can get it and they could say, well, right now, we wanna use the money, it's fungible. And they could use it for something else, knowing that their match requirements might be experienced over. I think we're just cleaning out Irene right now. It would be totally up to them. So those are the two pieces, to get to the total amount that would go out. And, I'm gonna let Andy give out the information that's kind of, so people are
this was drafted by our ledge council, right? And I've only seen, I mean, the concept we totally agree upon. I just wanna make sure that I understand the walk through, or a little bit of a walk through on.
yeah, I think probably, it's good to look at the figures and then you can see.
Okay, exactly. I just wanna make sure that the language that when I present this, yeah. We haven't checked a little more. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Thank you. I just need one. Okay. All right. Okay. Do you have one?
Yeah.
We're good. All right.
So, order to determine the total amount of relief, an impact a municipality would have, is really the combination of the grant and then the ERAF match. How they use it is fungible, but, it was a way of, as I say, equalizing or recognizing the great variance. If you lost your wastewater, obviously you had a big hit on your municipal. On the other hand, varies the best residential. So, why don't you go through this, Andy, because you have, had a chance to review it?
Well, one page overview is easier than to do, which the House provided basically $15 million for municipalities, the $10 million that were grants that was undefined, and then the $5 million that was gonna go to a grant program at HCCD. We increased that total to 17.25 million. A million of it gets taken away for ERAF match. That was before the July flood. So that's why you have 16.25 up this. So 16.25 is going to state match. The state match, it's a 90-10 split on all this flood damage now, because since we hit that threshold. The state normally would pay 5% of the 10. But with this money, we're gonna increase that to like almost 8.9%. So the town's match will be like
Between 1% and 2%.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it depends on how that all shakes out.
That's in the FEMA match, right?
Yeah, so that's all the ERAF being match. And then, as Senator Mitchell said, the towns can get 70% up front. And you'll see the dollar amount for towns on the other sheet, but this page just gives you the big dollars. And then for this others, kind of half of the money that we put, the 6.25, we put towards these individual or municipal payments or grants to those towns that were most affected. And we kind of split that in between 3.25 to go to the communities that had the most number of individual approved claims. And those are the 4 towns that get the most. One town had over 150, so they get $1 million payment. And then there was 4 towns that had in between 995 and 499. So they get, or 49, not 99, get the $750,000 each.
Yeah,
So that makes it 3.25. They still have 3 million, and that's spread about 103, and that's spread amongst 300 towns or 103 towns. And depending on how much damage they had, they get just a lump sum payment of either 75,000, 50, 30, 20, or 10. And then that's in the far right column, and then the left column shows you what the total is for those number of towns.
so that damage is something that the public assistance piece, that's not damage that somebody here is in.
Right, this is based on the PA, on public damage. So towns that just maybe had $20,000 of road damage, or, well, not 20,000, we could cut it off at 100,000, but if they had $100,000 of road damage, they would get a grant for $10,000. That's great.
So we broke it into quintiles, which we could do, and we had a cutoff where it just the administration and the amount of money.
I know this is a lot of work, this is a lot of work to get to.
Right, it took a lot back and forth with all the different we had different formulas at different times, but this other document, you could run through the 103 towns. And it'll show you kind of what their reduction in local match is, that red line, how much they're gonna get for this local economic impact grant, and then their total with the reduction of match plus their grant, what their total dollar amount would be. The grant they would get upfront, and then they could also get 70% of the red.
Of that upfront.
Upfront, which they could spend immediately if they needed to.
So towns can also participate both from the direct grant and from help with the FEMA.
They get both.
They
They
get
get
both.
both. They get both.
As long as they have, sometimes they didn't have.
Right.
As long as they have it, and it's fungible, so it's totally up to the town, once the money goes out. If they take the ERAF money, then they're on, they have to come up with the full match. But sometimes they say, well, this is more pressing need, we think we can sort of spread the match, demand over multi-years. And so, we all were getting emails about how they would like to do this, and this, or help, or whatever. I think Johnson would say they need a grocery store. That's one of their community priorities. So we did not want to get into being prescriptive about the money, but let the local officials, make the decisions based on local needs. So this is sort of our refinement of what we put in. The quintiles is something that we sort of came up with as a way of allocating, and where the numbers are still a little bit fluid and not quite precise. And you will notice, because this gave joint fiscal staff a rash, please note, all amounts are estimates and will be finalized upon final allocation of funds. But people are automatically going to say, well, what about,
Where's my $92.57?
Yeah, and so,
Yeah.
we felt that it
Right.
was important to give,
Disclaimers.
people. So I just want to point out the red, because that was something that,
Estimate local share reduction, that's what is,
so,
they must have given you a rash too as well, so.
and so what you can see is the language that goes with it and makes the money make sense in terms of, the 50,000, 30,000 to step down,
Right.
by quintile. And, so, we hope that,
One key part is that the towns can use it for anything that is female eligible. That was an important part of the discussion. They can't use it if FEMA.
Was gonna pay for it.
Yeah, because then FEMA would just,
Right, okay,
Right.
so it's FEMA
Lower.
ineligible activities.
mhm.
but I did a question for Grady on page 5.
I hope it doesn't apply to match.
No, it's a section 2. Well, it is about it says in fiscal year 24, the secretary shall increase the match. Is there any issue about
If it being into
if
25,
it was to extend in fiscal year 25? That this change wouldn't,
There would be, I can check on that and make sure that the timeline is correct in the final version of the language.
yeah, there's,
Well, we're finishing this up.
soon,
Well, doesn't that C say that to the extent that they have an appropriate,
There are two
or the
different,
different ones, okay?
so Senator Flick is referring to the ERAF match on page 5 in sub 2 concern.
In
Yeah.
fiscal year
In fiscal year
2024. That's what
right.
it's
we were appropriating 24, but I don't know if somebody comes forward with, the final ERAF match might be in 2026.
We can,
No,
we'll follow up on it, and worst case, we can update it and, just see section budget.
so
So
on
we
the
can close
other
it
hand,
out, yeah.
right. Question is, if in fact some of these ERAF payments went out in next fiscal year. We're trying to move the money up very quickly.
Right.
The municipalities say they really need the relief, but, we can, if we have to, we can adjust it.
So it just has to go out to the municipalities don't necessarily have to spend it, or is it both?
They don't have to, they can spend it on something else, but
Right.
they still will be responsible for that now.
No, I don't think you mean,
Eventually.
Well,
yeah,
there's us getting the money out. And that's fiscal year.
Fiscal year
2024.
2024.
I don't think there's any time limit, but this is all
Of when they
general
can spend
fund.
it, right.
This is all general fund. So,
Right.
there would be no time limit like there would be with federal. So, we have total latitude on general fund.
Just that we're increasing the standard in 2024, so I don't know if somebody would say like, oh, well. We wouldn't want the administration to say in 2025 that change of rule doesn't apply,
Well,
but they could still get the money.
we're just basically saying until July 1st, they could advance up to the 70%.
I'm only pausing for somebody to have some sort of epiphany that folks need to say something, but
I think if we can fix it in the C section of the budget.
if it needs to.
Um,
Thank you for working on this.
Well-
Communities appreciate it.
Trying to be equitable and simple
yeah,
Yeah.
and meet all the requirements. Very difficult, so thank you for your work on that.
Yeah.
well, that was our goal, and they have to at least have something to apply, but it's not a complicated application
Right.
or anything to get the money out. I wish it could be like we do in transportation. You've got X number of miles of town roads,
Right.
here's your money. But I'm not sure.
So that is number 9. And is that the only place is in number 9, or is it more than one organization?
I think that's it.
GF increase, ERAP, I think it's 9 and 25. That's the,
Yeah,
25.
that's taking,
No, that's-
they're 34.
Yes.
34.
Oh,
Yeah, 34, yeah.
okay, 34 and.
Yeah, I think we just closed out page 2.
We had,
Oh, there's
yeah.
number 25 on there.
no, 44.
42,
We
44.
closed out 25.
25.
Yes.
Yeah, we did that.
Oh, there it is, sorry, it's not colored.
42 and 44.
There we go, so page 2 is done.
I think we did 42, we did 42,
Alright.
get up in FY 25.
Alright.
Yep.
But did we close all of page 1 yet?
No.
No,
So that's all part of that in 34, okay.
right, so, but we closed out.
Yeah.
The surveillance language.
Last one.
No, we did 44.
No, we
No, that was,
that,
Joe.
that is all.
The last page is all done.
The last page is all done.
except for 44 is not done.
Right,
But that's the second page.
That's
That's the third page. One,
No,
no, bottom or 2.
Oh.
that's one we have.
Oh, you know what?
We
Because
finished
my
all of
number,
those, right.
yeah, this one,
You're using the old.
It's just 44 on page 2 and 3.
I think it's because I've got my original sheet until I'm done. All right,
So I think 8 and 9 actually are a combination, and I think this is maybe the language you have been working on as well. It's the request that we got, or the
let's hear.
VHCD notifying us that the money that we had appropriated for mobile homes was all the.
Oh, we're not looking at this, right?
Page 8 and 9.
Okay.
Oh, in here.
Oh,
And
is
so
that all?
We were all looking at something else. No, I'm looking at page 8 and 9, yes.
On the
Even though it's all
packet,
lumped
agreed.
together is,
Yeah.
I think this is, kind of a,
Is this
Yeah,
coming from the
so
house?
This
Yeah.
is house.
This is coming from the house.
that's all I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
You never-
Presenting
okay.
it for
Turn it on.
All right,
But I know what it is because we both got the request from, of the HCD or a notice saying that they had, money that they would like to have more flexibility to use. And I'm assuming that this is the document that is reflective of, that notice and talking about how to, use that freed up money. So
yeah, and then
it's yours.
Grady has,
If you wanna
Would you like
present
me
it.
to go?
yeah, Representative Wood, would you like to go? And then I think Grady might have a reasoning as to why it's where it is.
I know why it's here.
Yeah.
Okay, good. No, I don't
Oh,
mean
wait.
here, I meant
Yeah.
here.
Oh, wait a minute, I didn't think number 9 is right. Thought it was the Budget Act.
This is where it might,
Yes, so I can explain, Madam Chair. So the language request as sent from VHCB was amending 2023 action resolves number 81. The FY 24 budget adjustment has not amended anything in Act 81. This construct includes VHCB's requests, but reflects that request in amendment to Act 78, Section B 1102, which the House had proposed an amendment to in their version of the FY 24 budget adjustment bill. So on page 9, you will see a reference to Act 81 rather than to this act in the originally drafted
but
language from VHCB.
Okay, but we're actually making the change in, the 1102 of last year's budget.
Correct.
so that says, yeah, when it,
So the language just
Yeah.
references, yes.
Right, okay.
So I think that we're, the original intent of that language is around, the provision of, mobile homes for individuals who, are experiencing homelessness. And that is still happening, and will continue to happen because they also have an earmark, from Senator Sanders around that. But this language gives additional flexibility to VHCB, coupled with the last line on page 9, around the, $2 million that we're taking from the one-time requests, to actually establish 75 permanent shelter beds, as opposed to dealing with temporary things. So that $2 million at the bottom is being taken from the administration's request for $4 million in one time for temporary projects. We're giving that to we're proposing to give that to VHCP, along with the flexibility, from last year's appropriation to enable them to purchase and finance, those two projects that will result in 75 permanent shelter beds.
you can
So-
emphasize that word permanent,
Permanent.
because it was to, the administration's original proposal was to $4 million for temporary shelters. And I think that was what was giving us pause for 3 months, that seemed to be not an effective use of the money, nor help serve the people who are out there. So this is creating the permanent shelters, and right now that we hope is.
In southeastern Vermont and in central Vermont.
Well, and the other thing though is we're still giving them, and they have money and here and to expand emergency shelter capacity.
Yes.
So it's taking advantage of those two properties and, all right, and then, the remaining 2 million, we. You have,
Yeah, where's the rest of that language, Gary?
well,
The 671,000.
yeah, one of the.
So that is in the stapled packet that I gave to Madam Chair Lanford.
And that is basically to use,
Oh, yes, okay.
and that's,
This is what
line,
A whole bunch of them.
Yes.
Yes,
this
so
is
that
the other-
that is a separate language packet
Okay.
that the House.
Yeah.
all right,
has a
well,
separate
why
book.
don't we, you wanna close out this?
That's fine.
And
If
is
you're,
there a
if you,
specific line?
No. this
no,
is a-
that's why
this is a
that's why I
new-
was moving to this next one, because it's all sort of combined.
Okay, all right,
Um,
and this has to do with the transitional housing for the refugees.
Yes,
Yeah, and,
So this pairs with this.
this pairs with the language that we just looked at, okay?
Sorry.
Still has us.
Uh,
Oh, so this is just redoing all of 1100. And this is. I keep asking.
The only new part of it.
Yeah.
That's all for the new part.
correct.
yeah.
All right,
I'll stop asking.
Your taxing our,
I know, the bottom of page 3,
Okay,
because
so
no page numbers, but you can count.
Yeah, I can count.
You can count. Bottom of page 3, it references the 600, this is one time. again,
Mhm.
671,000 to the state refugee offices to support transition
Yeah.
housing for refugees.
Mhm.
This was something that, the House had in its proposal,
Is that the same dollar amount you have? You said?
yeah, 671.
Just see it out, but we've had additional information about it, and actually, we've been talking that this is just part of our housing construct, so the 671 is coming out of the remaining 2 million.
There's.
Yes,
There was a part of
that's
line 13 in our.
And Brady, can you point us to where it showed that the remaining 1.3?
Yes, so if you flip the page, it would be on page 5, you'll see sub 12 is where you have 1.39 general fund for standing up shelters.
So, if you take.
The
this-
second, wait,
Okay.
So
That's at the top.
right before our agency of education,
Grady, you've really confused me
I know, I
by
have
putting
that.
in all the other stuff. It says
Right,
here,
second.
number 12,
Yes,
one
that's it.
329, general fund for standing up shelter.
Number 12.
Okay, there, okay.
Okay, yes, which had been the 4
correct,
million, and now we've taken 2
correct.
for one thing, and then this
And-
for the 671 for this.
On the final page of
The
this
balance.
document, you'll see the 2 million
Right.
here. This does not reflect the amendments that were in this packet, though. If that makes sense to the committee. So the final VACB language, the
Now
committee
had been.
just previously reviewed.
Right.
The language in here reflects the 2 million, but does not reflect the VHCB
It's
language.
All right, so you'll take this piece dealing with the 671, changing
Yes.
that amount for standing up shelters, and we'll concur.
Right, so the 671 and the 1.329
Yeah.
and the 2 million add up to the 4.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's where it's split.
Yeah.
Okay, and then because you caught that at the end, this part is like, look at the new.
That's
piece
right,
of
that's, this will be on there, right?
Oh. Brady.
Where did that go?
So that's line 13. And we're going back to DCF to where the line item was 4, that we hope that they have a plan for for that shelter, which from what we've heard, right, then I'm sure it's
I
permanent.
mean, that,
Yeah, they didn't
the
have,
4 million, they, honestly, they just didn't really have a plan.
right, yeah.
And
And if you don't have a plan, somebody else will,
somebody else will
no,
reallocate.
No,
So,
so I believe Katie McLean.
the only thing that they kind of presented,
Emergency housing language.
and you couldn't
Oh,
really
yes.
call it a plan,
Okay.
but, was the Waterbury project.
This one.
They didn't really have a budget for the Waterbury project,
no,
but
so
they
this is-
kind of
That's that part
presented,
that I.
and with,
It's okay.
depending upon,
The case.
I wanna make sure we're all listening.
yes,
And
Yeah, that's what we're waiting.
your colleague would like to finish her
just would like to
monologue.
make sure we're all listening.
Okay, yes, please.
Okay.
Try to understand where we were and where we weren't. Thank you.
So depending upon the outcome of our next element, which is the GA emergency housing,
Mhm.
the proposed Waterbury shelter, if you wanna call it that,
Yeah,
would not be required in its current proposed form, which is essentially a congregate shelter for people with disabilities and older Vermonters. Because those people, if the next proposal is agreed to, would remain in the hotels.
DCS would, I mean, I guess they could use this in the Florida if they wanted to do that.
This is giving them some flexibility, frankly, to use it for emergency services, yeah,
Okay,
but not 4 million, it's now
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
1.3.
Exactly.
Okay, so are we all set on this then? I think,
Yeah, yes.
now, of course, we are talking about, and we have no commitment at this point, but obviously the state refugee transitional housing, their request was ongoing, but we're not making any decision now relative to the 25 opportunity.
And this,
Right.
this part down here. We talked about that. This 20 million.
Yes, of course we did, because that's backfilling, the match to broadband.
Well, that we already agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
just
why,
that they have to bring the whole section
that's
in,
why
make
it's so
one change.
confusing.
Exactly, you think
You
that,
can't see the highlighted in the, it's,
Okay,
that is just the highlighted.
it's just.
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so yes,
Yeah.
that's why that's so confusing,
Right,
it's
yeah.
imported all this stuff.
The next one's gonna have nice, pretty yellow highlights
Okay,
on
good.
it.
Thank you.
right, that's the only thing we have.
That's all I
That's your-
can do.
okay.
Alright, so we just
Is that
taken
the
care
only
of,
thing we have left?
wait a minute, no, we just closed out
Yeah.
13, right?
Right, you plus that 13,
And
Yes,
and I think that's it. I think we still have,
um,
if I can just have,
emergency housing, I think is the
15 and
last.
44.
And you guys agreed on something about the reversions language?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
agreed
Oh, yeah.
that we
All
can
of
keep it in
those are
the, keep it in there as a requirement.
and
Shy
it,
report.
yeah, it's Representative Shy Memorial Report.
Let's say honorary memorial.
Is that more than memorial?
Yeah, I think the auditor is gonna like things that are still alive.
Okay,
Legacy,
Yes.
okay. This is what I did, huh?
Yeah, I think this is the only one left.
If I may draw the committee's attention to page 10 of the unstable document, briefly, just one.
Unstable.
One of the stapled when he handed it up, but we all say.
I didn't say mine, unfortunate.
The one that starts with adult
The
basic ed in front.
the final page of that document. So this is relating to Vermont Housing Finance Agency's middle income homeownership program.
Okay.
The House included this repeal. The Senate removed the repeal. It turns out that the repeal is necessary, so this is a technical correction to add back in the House's recommendation to repeal this section.
And that was in the, was that in the technical letter?
It was not in the technical letter, the
Why?
specific. The Vermont Housing Finance Agency has funds from FY 23 that they may be able to use to continue this program. The concern is if this repeal language was not included, then the language that would have been repealed may prevent them from doing so.
So
So if we want the program to continue, we have to repeal this. language.
we have to repeal the repeal.
That's right.
We have to, yes, we have to repeal the repeal,
So they can function.
or we have to repeal the repeal of the repeal.
If I like the program, I want this.
Yes.
If you want them to spend the money that they currently have.
Yeah, I
we
got
like
it.
Yes, okay. All right. Thank you for. So, is that, was that on the sheet here in differences?
No, this came to JFO's attention today.
Oh, all right.
The fact that he stood out, I think he's done.
I think so.
Oh, sorry.
Very good. Next.
Yeah.
Where is that word dismissed?
All right.
Yeah. Should we, and then, is Katie gonna walk us through this, or you're gonna do it?
Sure.
There's not a zero there, you can.
No.
This has changes highlighted. Thank you to Hannah for printing them on the color printer.
All right, thank you, Katie, for your timing is impeccable, 4 o'clock. Okay. You're presenting this on behalf of the.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, so the language we're looking at, continues the temporary emergency housing to the Act 81 cohort. And to individuals who, qualify under the traditional GA rules, defined here as, individuals, who qualify under the traditional rules, individuals who, qualify under the adverse, weather condition policy if they are also qualifying as, having catastrophic eligibility or vulnerable population eligibility.
That's sort of the same.
This gets to the people being confused, thinking that those individuals were not included, which you know, we had that discussion around, so it is a belt and suspenders kind of thing.
Because,
Is this both? Okay.
well,
If, that means that you're in adverse weather now,
and
and you would qualify under these regular GA rules. But you haven't had to qualify for those, because
No,
you've been in
you
under all.
didn't have to do the
Right.
categorical.
Right.
All right.
But this also adds a new subsection B as to how to document, if you are qualifying on the basis of a disability or health condition. So a household that is otherwise eligible for temporary emergency housing pursuant to subsection A, but for the inability to qualify for or document receipt of SSI or SSDI may use the department's emergency housing disability variance request form as a means of documenting a qualifying disability or health condition.
And that's not in the GA rules right now.
No, this is something that was in effect as a result of the settlement reached with Vermont Legal Aid during COVID in terms of how to document disability or health condition. And we have heard a lot of testimony around individuals who have a significant disability or have a significant medical issue, like being just discharged from a hospital or needing, or just having recovering from surgery, and who are also homeless. And this enables that to happen and be documented via that form. So it gives the opportunity for people who don't have SSI to go through a process. Again, it's a process, but
They have to have a physician.
it's demonstrated, that's correct, yes.
That's an existing form.
It is a form that was in use.
So, does that
It's not in
change,
use right now, I wanna be
does
clear
that
about that.
change the funding demands?
It's not a huge number of people.
Wouldn't think so.
It's just those people that it affects. It's really huge for them.
Oh, look, I remember when the GA program was moved to the state administration in late sixties. So.
I go back a ways, but that is before my time,
Yeah,
Madam Chair.
I'm thinking of that. All right.
Okay,
I know that that's been a concern. And
Yes.
obviously SSI or social security disability is very clear cut, but there are people who might even be in the application stage of, I thought that used to be covered, so. Under regular GA, because it was a recovery of the SSI retroactive benefits, so needless to say, as long as there's a review process and there's some medical statement, and now, this is,
It's renumbering.
no, my question is, beyond June 30th. That's all we're doing here, because is there,
the next, beyond June 30th is an
Through
FY
June
25.
okay, no, I was just looking at D, that's all.
Okay.
I'm looking for what's in D, that's.
Gotcha.
Just wanted to. So everything else is unchanged except for the,
Numbering, and then you have
So-
changes in the last paragraph.
but I mean, on this page, it's just.
Right. And the changes in the last paragraph, Katie
Oh,
was
this, okay.
Kate will go through them, but I have, the department, I had discussions with the department. We were, a bit anxious to give up on the concept of the daily room rate. During these, you know, agreements, and I think contractual agreement as opposed to I think, I can't remember, to say arrangement, yes, okay.
Oh, so now, what was D is now E.
Yep.
In the ordering on
Oh.
page 2, I'm just going back.
Oh,
Because so
yeah.
much of what we were talking about was little D, Ren's.
Oh,
D.
Yes,
Now,
we're concurring with your $80 a day.
And then
And we,
you've added the other that if they need, sometimes they need to, have a place for the service providers and so forth.
for damages, but the difference here, sort of the main difference here is that the Senate language did not, require them to go with the daily rate. So this requires, the state to go with the daily rate, but enables an add-on, for damages, for, negotiating space for service providers, that kind of thing. So,
Give some assurances sometimes that might lead to a higher charge.
yes.
So
Yes.
I don't think that changes what our intent was in what we did.
Yes, we did not apply any cap on the.
Right, we didn't do the cap because we thought that they,
But
this
this,
might be a situation.
Right. We thought this was consistent with your intent, but, maybe a little bit more specific with regard to.
particularly when we were concerned about, um, uh, sort of the assurances that you would get for, serving the population.
What we just heard in joint fiscal at lunchtime was that this is becoming a harder and harder population to serve, and they all have units, so.
The other thing I want to address, because I know that we are all receiving emails about the March first date. And, we also know that the hotels that are holding out, are waiting to see,
Do we need a?
do we mean it?
Right.
And we do. We're agreeing, I think everybody had a March first date, the house is original and you're.
Yeah, so it sounds they have been out there for several months, really, at this point.
So we're not proposing any change in that. No, do you want to review? I don't wanna, it seems like you will understand it,
Thanks
yeah.
for coming in. So, and I know, has this is obviously been reviewed, I think.
This has
the
been reviewed.
secretary had taken. a look.
Yes, actually, they provided the language.
I'm not really understanding what happened to that too.
It basically,
If
is,
you keep the $80, then what is this agreement going to provide?
it's going to allow to make an additional payment for a room that might be available for service providers to come in and meet with residents, or it could be, I thought you'd said something about,
So those,
damages or,
the part, so the last sentence, what you're.
That's it, right, that's the last sentence.
Proposed to address services.
Services
They have
related
extra
needs.
costs.
Yeah,
Those extra costs can be met there, but they can't be met by the 80, they have to stay at $80.
right,
so it's a different way of recognizing that if you're entering into an agreement, it gives greater protection or assurances around compensation.
room.
Otherwise, it was just a daily rate,
Or
this is an
security.
add-on, yeah.
This could be like if they needed extra costs for security.
it could be any variety of things that's negotiated. And I think that we did not want to have a situation where we were paying some hotels $92 a day, and some hotels $80 a day, and other hotels, $100 a day. So we felt like we keep the rate that's being paid to hotels consistent, but there are add-ons if there are other things.
Where they have some latitude.
It's also an incentive for hotels to come to the table, because if you do, you have the possibility of negotiating something that includes those other things.
And since the negotiation is not around the $80, felt there was no need to move the date.
Correct.
And actually, our understanding is BGS has been in contact and has, negotiated a fair number
Yes.
already, and
Yes.
some are just holding out to see
Yeah.
if in fact.
Right. We need it. Yeah.
Is this the last?
This is the last.
one.
Unless there's something I'm missing.
No, I think, it's not the end of any conversation, obviously.
Oh, no.
25.
Just for,
This is, to a large extent, is,
it is a
You
lot
want
of.
to set one question on?
it's sure, I mean, it's not a big departure. We are having to negotiate the differences. We've looked at what we can negotiate in the budget adjustment. I think people would like us to use it in a more expansive way, but there are rules around what we can and can't do, and we both had. We had caps in one place, a little flexibility. What you're doing is proposing flexibility in a different way with the sort of the add-on, uh, payments that can be made for, specific activities or assurances. So, it seems like within the two different versions of the GAA, this is kind of the middle ground here. Go ahead, your question.
If a hotel bids agree, it would be up to the hotel on March 2nd. What to do with those residents?
If the hotel doesn't agree,
Yeah.
and as we heard today in joint fiscal committee, there is a sort of an annual flux in the hotels who agree to participate and those who
Right.
decide, okay, I've done this and I don't want to do it. So do we expect there to be some hotels that decide, for whatever reason, it might be the captain, might be their own business reasons, that they no longer want to participate? Yes, we believe that there will be some. We don't know exactly how many. The vast majority of them are going to enter into an agreement.
And those that don't, if they were like, we're just gonna get out of the program. The plan would move those people to another hotel.
Yeah, that would be the plan, yeah, that's, yeah,
I think what they said.
yes, that's what they said, yeah. Which is disruptive, we recognize, and not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. But I feel like we need to be very clear about what our expectations are with regard to these hotels. Yes.
That could be outside of somebody.
I'm pretty sure that when people recognize that we have agreed on language, that the phones at BGS and DCF will be.
Because that would be a very substantial reduction in revenue. I doubt that at this time of year, we'd all see rate is, put on this.
Yeah, for some of these places, I want to be clear that BGS has concentrated on reaching agreement with the hotels that have the largest portion of, rooms that are rented for this population, and so some of the smaller ones, they are getting to now, but
But they've all
I
been
can't,
approached.
right, well, they've all received written, I've seen a copy of the notification that went out from DCF. That's saying, if you want to participate, this is where you should be contacting, and they are being recontacted. But can I guarantee that they're all going to participate? I cannot guarantee that they're all going to participate.
But there will be obviously follow-up calls.
Yes,
Once we close this budget.
Yes.
Today.
I mean, that's what everybody is looking for at this point in time, yeah.
Is the clarity around. Okay. I
Other
think we can
questions?
provide that for them.
And it does deal with the housing, the disabilities.
Seems fair.
Shall we close this out as well?
Yes. We're good.
Then what we have to do is get the, copy, and we have to sign it before we can go home to that, right? So, we are just, fiscal can get working on that. Next to the
One on the emergency housing needs, the Senate had $11 million appropriated for this. I'm assuming that number doesn't change based on this language. Is that
Correct.
Okay, so we close that part out.
It's only like 12 on that, that's used to be 4, now it'll be 1. Experience, from that year. It's okay. Well,
Right, because we're not expecting a cost impact. I guess the only cost impact would be this section.
We're not expecting it.
on the disability variance. Yeah, I don't think the numbers are huge, but, we hear people that have significant health issues. Assuming that there's an available room, I'm sure that some right now are, there isn't a room.
And I think, Madam Chair, this goes to your statement last week that this is dealing with the capacity that we have in trying to prioritize those individuals. All people who are homeless are in need, don't get me wrong, but when we're dealing with them, a really pretty much a set capacity of rooms that are available, there has to be some way to address you know,
Trio.
families, children, you know, older Vermonters, people with disabilities,
Domestic violence.
right, all of those people will be included in this language.
Then, at this point, we've closed everything out, so I'm going to suggest we adjourn our committee conference.